Hello, my name is Courtney Rayanne Wright, and I wanted to share my story of my life and just how I realized that God is the thing I've been missing in my life. The thing that fills the void that nothing else can. This is how I like my life story and how I've come to realize that's what it was, not the things that I thought it was. So I have a piece of paper that just is like notes to remind me what exactly I wanted to say. And it goes by age that I remember. And so starting at birth, I was born Thursday, September 10th, 1998 at 8:11 in the morning. I was born into sin. I believe that I was born with original sin. Everybody was. And yeah, I believe that God gave us free will, and that's kind of how free will plays into how my choices affected my life and stuff like that. Um, at age 3, I recall talking to God about whether or not I wanted to come to Earth. I personally don't remember this, but I've been told that when I was 3 years old, when I was playing just at the table or whatever, I turned to my mom and I was like, I remember when God asked me if I wanted to come to Earth, and she was questioning me, trying to get answers and stuff. And so I said that God asked me 3 times whether or not I wanted to come to Earth and if I was sure. And I said, yes, I do. And he didn't tell me who my parents were going to be or anything like that, just whether or not I wanted to, and I did. And so I like to joke and say that I did not choose to be born, but I kind of did, I believe that happened, and I believe that I did choose to be born. So yeah, 3 years old. My aunt, when I was 3 years old, also said that I was gonna be gay. So I have always been like a tomboy, and so I've always given those vibes. And so my aunt said that I was gonna be gay when I get older. So yeah, that kind of is, in my opinion, the first seed that was planted. From just not saying my aunt is Satan, but the first seed of Satan that was planted in my life of sin. And so, yeah. At age 4, I remember loving God so much and just having a really good relationship with him, like viewing him as like my dad and stuff like that. And so I made a birthday cake out of Legos for Jesus. I don't remember if this was near Christmas time or what. I mean, I've come to learn that Christmas is not Jesus's birthday, but when I was a kid, I just viewed it, and so I made a birthday cake out of Legos for Jesus. Also, around 4 years old, I started school at St. Joseph Catholic Elementary School, and I started my educational career in a Catholic private school where I learned about God. And so it's always been around me and around my life, God and Jesus. Also, I was baptized Catholic, so when I was a baby, I was baptized. And so I've always had a knowledge of Jesus and God in my life. So I never had to, discover him. He was always there. Around 6 years old was my first memory of Mormonism. And I feel like that plays into it because that was my first experience at 6 years old, being around somebody and knowing somebody and learning about a religion that was not my own. The way I found out was that I asked my friend, my next door neighbor, if he could hang out and play, and he said no because he just couldn't play. And I asked my dad why he couldn't play, and I remember him saying, oh, well, it's Sunday, and Mormons can't play on Sundays. And so I remember being very confused about that, not understanding just that whole situation. But so that was my first experience at 6 years old with a religion that was not mine. Around 6 years old, my parents also got divorced. And I remember very vividly the arguments that my parents had during that time. I remember the toxicity of my household, and I remember just that whole situation, and I believe that that formed how I view relationships and how I view marriage, and it's something that I'm definitely learning to recognize that that was not normal, and that was not how marriages should be and how relationships should be. Also, my grandma passed away around the time I was 6 years old, and that was my first experience with death. It was a very sad time. I don't feel like I fully understood what was going on, but that was the first experience I had with losing a loved one and dealing with that stuff. So 8 and 9 years old, around that time, I started getting bullied at school for being fat, being ugly, just being weird in general. I feel like I was a very weird kid, especially to be a tomboy. It's very unheard of in a Catholic school, and so I was getting pretty heavily bullied around that time, and I feel like that also kind of like separated me from my peers, you know? I was the black sheep for a little bit of time, but that's okay. I feel like it definitely formed who I am today, and it definitely had a role in my journey. Also, around that time with my parents' divorce, I went through a lot of custody things with them. So every other weekend I would be at my dad's, every other weekend I'd be at my mom's, every 2 weeks I'd be, just, it was always changing, always a different custody that they had over me. So I also feel like both of my parents offered completely different things for me. My mom was very poor, and so she offered a lot of emotional support and a lot of love physically, whereas my dad was very well off, and so he didn't really show me a lot of physical love. It was more like, if you need this, I'll get it for you. If you need this or this or this, and it was always like, if I needed something, I would be able to go to him and I would be able to get it. And I didn't have that with my mom. Like, if I needed new shoes, I couldn't go to my mom and ask for new shoes, She would give me anything that she could. Everything that she could give me, she would give me. Like, she would give me the clothes off her back. But I just couldn't get that financial support to the extent that I needed it from my mom. And so I would have to go to my dad. And so just back and forth, needing different things from each parent and the custody. And I did not have a very stable house. Like, I was always moving. It was not stable at all, So I have issues with stability now, and but that's okay. So around 10 years old, I started identifying as a boy, and I told my classmates to call me Zach. And it kind of stuck for a really long time. I felt like identifying as a boy would help with probably just escaping the life I was in. And I feel like that definitely did play a part into my life today, but it helped at the time with being accepted by my peers, which is strange and backwards that they would accept me as a boy, as Zach. But yeah, so that was my first experience with just being in the LGBT community. And even though I didn't realize there wasn't a name for it there at that time, and well, there was, but I was 10 and I didn't realize. And so that was my first experience with the LGBT community and my identity. 11 years old, my cousin passed away from suicide. Suicide runs in my family, and so a lot of my family has committed suicide, and a lot of my family has been affected by it. And so when my cousin committed suicide, I was 11 years old, and he was gay, and that was the reason, or part of the reason, that he committed suicide, was because he wasn't very accepted in his family. And at that time, gay people were not very accepted in the United States and stuff like that. And so that definitely traumatized me because he was the cousin I was the closest with in my entire life. And it felt like he was the only person that I could go to and that I could relate to because of how I was at a young age identifying almost in the LGBT community. I was definitely an outsider, and I felt like I could connect with him through that. And so it was very hard for me. It was very traumatic when I lost him. And that's about the time where my depression and my self-harm and stuff started. And also that started a doubt in God when he passed away. I started to question, is he in heaven? If God loves everybody and creates everybody equally, how could he hate gay people? How could he not think that it's okay? And so definitely that was probably the start of when I started to doubt God and started to question stuff like that. And so with the self-harm, I started just scratching my arms, and I didn't understand why I was doing it. I didn't understand what was going on. In hindsight, I realized that I just wanted to feel something. I felt very numb at this time. I was praying to God almost every single day for over a year, just trying to call out to my cousin to see if he was in heaven and if he, could hear me. And same with God. I was just questioning, is he even there? Is he with you? And so after not really hearing anything back, I feel like that started to make me question, is God real? Is heaven real? Is my cousin in heaven? And it was just a very, very rough time as an 11-year-old. And at that same time, I got out of Catholic school. I started going to public school when I was 11 or 12 in 6th grade. 6th grade was my first year outside of private Catholic school. And so it was a really rough time because with the loss of my cousin and then the change of schools and the change of environment and custody battles with my parents, it was a really rough time for me. So yep. And at that time I stopped praying. After I started questioning God, I was like, there's no God and it's not worth praying and I'm just wasting my time. And so at that time I stopped praying, and I got a boyfriend who I identified, as a Jehovah's Witness and stuff like that. And so it kind of made me question, am I a Christian? And is this what I want to be? And it made me start to question if religion was right for me at all, to be honest. And so it was really rough. So yeah, started to question my identity as a religious person and whether or not I was religious and what religion was I. Because up to this point, I'd been surrounded by Catholics. I'd been told what to believe, what I am and who I am. And so I never really explored myself and who I was until I was about 12 in 6th grade. At 13 years old, I was switching schools a lot, and so by 13 I was in a different school. I started identifying as bisexual. I started having feelings for girls in my class. I started thinking about them and just all sorts of stuff. At that point, I started to not go to church. I started to hate church. I started to hate God. Because of everything I had been through up to this point, I was just so angry at God. How could I be this way? How could I be bisexual? How could you let me self-harm? How could all this stuff happen to me? And I'm only 13, So I started to hate God. And it was really rough for me. I lost my virginity at 13. It was like a game with my friends to see who could lose it first. And I won that game. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I had just not bought into that with my friends. I started smoking weed when I was 13 because that's just what all my friends were doing. They were smoking weed. I started vaping at 13. Today actually is my 1 year clean from vaping. I'm 21 years old, And so from 13 to 20, I was vaping. And so yeah, today I 1 year off of that, so that's cool. But yeah, just because my friends were doing it, I started and I got addicted really fast. And so I had to go to the mental hospital for suicide attempts and self-harm. I just was so far away from God at this point in my life. I felt hopeless. I felt like nothing was right in my life. And I attempted suicide a few times. I self-harmed all the time, but with knives instead of pencils. And so I had to go to a mental hospital for about a week. At that point, I got put on antidepressants, and things seemed to be going a little bit better, but still not good, you know? Yeah, oh my god, oh my gosh. I am still learning every day to correct my words, what I say, and to watch what I say. So sometimes I slip up. But I was a very terrible kid for my parents. I was always sneaking out. I was always doing drugs, having sex, seeing boys behind their back, lying straight to their face. Like, I was very defiant of my parents at this time. And I was blaming God a lot for this behavior, and I feel terrible to this day about it, but yeah, I just thought God was the cause of it, and I was so angry for a very long time. At 14 years old, my behavior kind of stayed the same. I just kind of kept having sex with guys, and I was smoking weed, being very defiant, and not really caring about my grades in school and stuff. I was much more involved with boys than school or my religious life or my parents or anything like that. I wanted to marry an LDS guy, so he wanted to get married in the temple, and I was willing to put aside whatever little belief I had in God left to marry him in the temple. And I'm glad I didn't, because he was not who he said he was, and he was addicted to porn, and he just was only interested in sex. And I feel like he used religion and what little bit of my religion that I had left to coerce me into wanting to get married and be in a relationship with him, and I fell for it at 14. At 15, I tried to get pregnant because I thought it would bring me closer to the boyfriend that I had. Completely different guy, by the way. We were together for about 6 months, and we wanted to get pregnant at 15, and I'm very, very grateful that that did not happen. But yeah, I thought that I would get closer to him with a kid, and it truly shows, like, how I have always felt this void in my life that I thought was I could fill with boys and with a relationship, but after time and growing up, I've realized that the only thing that can fill that void is Jesus Christ and God and my religion, and that is all that I have that means really anything to me. At 16, I got into another relationship with a 20-year-old. I thought that being with somebody who was older than me would be the right thing to do, and that I would be able to have somebody who knew what they were doing and be more mature in a relationship, but I was wrong. He ended up cheating on me and definitely using me for my naivety, and definitely statutory rape. Like, he had no reason to be in a relationship with me at 16 years old, and he definitely took advantage of me in that way. 17, I moved out to be with him, and I wanted to be away from my family so bad. I hated my family, for I felt everything they put me through with the divorce and with just wanting what was best for me, but I thought I knew what was best for me. And so I moved out at 17. But, I mean, I've moved back in since, because I was 17. I was a kid. I was working at Chick-fil-A making $7 an hour. Like, of course I can't make it on my own with that, you know? Um, at 18, I got into an abusive relationship with a different guy. He ended up raping me, and I just think that that wasn't God's fault, you know? I have blamed God before for that. Like, why would God let me go through that? But I believe that God didn't make me go through that. Like, I feel like that was definitely Satan in him rather than God being absent in my life. I thought that and this guy was older too. I was 18 though, so, but he was 25, 26, and it was a pretty awful situation. He isolated me from my friends and my family and forced me to delete all social media, and definitely manipulated me and isolated me from everything I knew and everything I was and everything I am to be his. And I'm very thankful that I was able to get out of that relationship. At that time, around 18, I started drinking and having one-night stands and just getting further and further away from God, honestly. So, and I was still smoking weed all the time. This whole time, from 13 till recently, actually, I smoked weed all the time. So yeah, 19 years old, I moved out of my house again and started identifying as trans. Very lightly, though. I just buzzed my head and I dressed like a guy. I didn't tell anybody that I felt these ways, though. I just lived them and quietly. But I moved out again and I started doing that silently with myself. At 20, I met another guy and I got engaged. I just thought, if I get engaged to this guy, if I marry this guy, things will be better and I will have that part of me that I've been missing for so long, and what I've been searching for my whole life was to find something to fill that void. And so I really thought that this guy was the one for me, and so we got engaged. At 21, we actually got married. I'm divorced now because he just wasn't ready for it, and I wasn't ready either, to be honest. I definitely was not ready. I'm still discovering who I am. I'm still building my relationship with God to this day, and I definitely feel like that was just not what God wanted for me. I feel like I just let my will be done with that one, you know? So yeah, this is up to, I'm 21 now. I'm almost 22 in a couple weeks, but, so during quarantine, this is September now. During quarantine, in April, I smoked weed every single day in the month of April, and I feel like it led to me smoking much more frequently. I definitely was doing it started just every so often, then on the weekends. Then after I did that every day in April, I did it like almost every single day after that. Definitely on the weekends, I would smoke weed, and sometimes towards recently, I would drink every single weekend. I didn't drink very frequently before, but towards a couple months ago, I was smoking and drinking every single weekend. And it was like I was getting drunk every weekend. It wasn't just a few drinks. It was like I was passing out drunk every weekend. I also, as a 21-year-old, I didn't start, I just tried LSD, acid tabs, and shrooms. I never thought I would do anything outside of weed. But I did try shrooms, and I did try acid tabs, one time each. Yeah. So, also, I came out as trans to my family and my friends very strongly when I was just recently, like a couple months ago. And I started testosterone, and I was on testosterone for 1 whole month. And my voice is a little deeper because of it. I don't personally mind. I feel like my voice was already a little deep before. It's probably gone down like 1 notch, and so not too bad. I started getting a lot of muscle mass very quickly. I started growing a little bit of facial hair, and my leg and arm hairs were starting to get darker, and yeah, that's pretty much the only difference I noticed by 1 month, and then my voice. But after 1 month, this was about a month ago, or 2 months, maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months, maybe, I stopped. My sister had a conversation with me about how Satan can give you voices, or say stuff to you that you just think are yourself. Like, I thought that I was telling myself that I was a boy, and like these are things that I'd felt, but I feel like after my sister told me about these things, that I believe that Satan was telling me that, oh, you're a boy. Don't you identify better as a boy? Don't you feel more comfortable as a boy? Don't you like girls? Like, wasn't she cute? Like, these were all thoughts that I feel like were given to me by Satan throughout my years, as I was a very vulnerable person, going through a lot of trauma, going through a lot of hurt and pain and anger with God and confusion. I feel like he used that against me, for sure, and gave me these thoughts and opened that door. And so, yeah. Now I am almost 22 years old. I have, since that conversation with my sister, I feel like that changed my entire life. I have been reading the Bible. I've been watching videos. I've been studying scriptures. I've been reevaluating my entire life. My entire heart feels like it's a completely different heart. I feel, since accepting Jesus Christ into my life, I feel like I have completely changed as a person. I cannot stress this enough, and it has been in such a short amount of time, like maybe 2 months. Me and my sister had this conversation, like, very short time ago, and I feel like a completely different person. And I'm still working every single day to build my relationship back with God, and trying to just build that back up from pretty much from the ground up at this point. And I don't believe that it's too late for anybody to build a relationship with God and to start accepting Jesus Christ into their life. So yeah, I wrote a little list of things that I do as an almost 22-year-old that has changed. Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that. I am at work, so I have to answer the phone when people call. Anyways, I have a list of things that have changed in my life since accepting Jesus Christ. Things that I've noticed that have drastically changed since, this new journey that I'm on to build my relationship and discover more and more about Him every single day. Anyways, so things that I do, I read the Bible. I've been studying at work. I haul my Bible around everywhere with me. That is the one thing that I always have on me, is my Bible. I pray twice a day. I pray as soon as I wake up and right before I go to bed every single day, thanking God for the day that I have, and for giving me one more day to get closer with Him and to build that relationship. I have no desire to be in a relationship with a guy, or a girl either, but yeah, I just don't feel the need to be in a relationship. I feel like that void has been filled. I don't crave guys' attention. I don't crave guys in general. Just I feel like I'm okay being by myself and building that by myself. Um, I hate my sins. I got to the point where I did not care if I was sinning. I did not care if it was wrong or if it was against God. But now like I said, oh my gosh, today in this video, and corrected myself. Before, I would just be swearing up and down this video and not care. So I definitely feel like I've changed in that way to hate my sins versus being okay with them and being accepting of them. I feel like now I have a relationship with God and with Jesus. I feel like I have definitely changed and I've grown. Before, I felt very lost and I felt like, yeah, I believe in God, but you know, I was very, very lukewarm before. I feel like I still have room to get, you know, to that fire in my soul, but I was very lukewarm before. So I definitely feel like I've changed in that way, that I have at least a little bit of a relationship with God that I can start with. I'm not bisexual. I have realized that I was trying to fill a void, and I didn't care. It got to the point where I didn't care who it was. Whether it be a woman or a man, I didn't care. I just wanted somebody. So I don't believe that I am bisexual anymore. I believe that I just wanted somebody, and I was very vulnerable at that time, and I feel like Satan was filling me with those feelings. I'm not transgender. I am cis, hetero woman, and I feel like he was also giving me those thoughts that maybe I do feel comfortable as a man. Maybe I do want a beard, and I do want to look different, and I do want to, you know, be a man. And I feel like those were not who I truly am. After getting close to God, I feel like that was a lie that I was living. I have no desire to do drugs or have sex. I feel like I just want to be sober, and I want to be in the mind space to have a relationship with God. And I feel like doing drugs has clouded my mind when it comes to stuff like that. Like, I feel like it's easier for me to sin when I am on drugs. And I just don't crave sex. I don't want to go against God in that way. I just don't have the craving for it. Like, I would rather be abstinent than to go against God, you know? So I just don't have those feelings anymore. Like I said, I feel like my heart has completely changed. So, yep. I feel like I'm definitely closer with my family now. I mean, certain family members, you know, you can only do so much. But, as far as my immediate family, my brothers, my sister, my mom, my dad, I feel very, like, much closer to them since building a relationship with God. Definitely before, I thought that they hated me, and I thought, you know, I was the black sheep. I still kind of am. I have tattoos, I have piercings. Nobody else in my family does. Nobody colors their hair red. So I still am the black sheep, but it's definitely like I feel more connected to them spiritually than I did before. And I definitely feel like I have much more of a relationship now than I did. I feel like I have a better understanding of life. I feel like before I was just aimlessly on this earth, not really knowing what to do, doing drugs to pass the time, having sex to pass the time. Didn't really have a purpose, but I feel like through God I am finding my purpose, and I am on this earth for a reason, and I'm very glad that I am alive, and I'm very glad that I'm here, and hopefully I can spread the word of God, and hopefully I can reach out to people and, you know, make people realize that life is good and life is worth living, and that God loves everybody, and everybody has a purpose, and everything happens for a reason. Life is not just on accident, and life isn't just, there's no, like, there is a meaning to life. It's not purposeless. And I have more appreciation for life and all aspects of life. Um, I definitely do feel like I appreciate life extremely, like much, much more than I did before. Before I would wake up and just dread life. And I thought, wow, I can't believe I woke up again, you know? But now I pray twice a day, thanking God for each and every single day. Like I'm very grateful for life, and I still suffer with depression, but it is significantly easier than before, for sure. I definitely feel like um, life is good, and yeah, I appreciate everything in life now. I appreciate seeing the sunset every single day. I appreciate seeing the sunrise every single day. I appreciate seeing animals like spiders and stuff I didn't care for before. I definitely see the beauty in a lot more things now that I've accepted God, and I realize that, like, wow, like this is created by God on purpose. Like it's amazing to see how many little details of life that you just don't really care about or you don't notice, like when you don't have God in your life, and how much more beautiful life is after realizing like God did this on purpose and God did this for us. Like it's just amazing. I definitely feel like my life would be completely different if I did not accept Jesus into my life. And I really hope this video can help people that are struggling in their relationship with God and struggling to figure out what they want to believe and what they feel is right for them. I feel like Jesus Christ and God is right for me, and I feel like they have significantly changed my life for the better. And I don't want to imagine what my life would be like without my religion. And yeah. So yeah, that is the story of 21-year-old Courtney Rayanne Wright from Utah. And that's it.